Commissioner Bray on the migrant issues, since I guess you're the designated hitter on that topic
Yes,
for this
sir.
process, as I've been told. Can you outline for us what New York State taxpayers have paid for already up to this point for the crisis going on,
Mm-hmm.
and outline what's proposed in this budget as far as taxpayer spending and on what specific or general areas?
Yeah, of course. So there's really, in terms of what we've already spent and what is in this executive budget, there's really four buckets. That's how I'm thinking of it. There is a shelter bucket. It's the largest bucket. To date, we have advanced New York City about $500 million in shelter money for the FY24 enacted, and the FY25 proposed has additional shelter money to offset New York City's shelter costs. And that's by far the largest amount. There is money to fund and pay for health services, including the Medicaid coverage that the asylum seekers receive in New York State, additional vaccinations, additional health screening. There is, and that's about 160 million in this year. There's about 260 million this year to fund the National Guard. We have about 2,000 National Guard members deployed to New York City. They are the sole staff at about 25% of the city's migrant hotel shelters. And so there's a bucket in there to continue to fund the National Guard mission. And then finally, there's money in the budget to fund the other types of services that Senator Salazar and I were speaking of: case management, legal services, employment services. The governor has said from day one here, the answer to shrinking our shelter responsibilities is jobs and employment. In order to do that, we need the legal services to get folks work authorization, and then the employment services to connect them to jobs.
You've had some progress with getting, I think, a group of Venezuelans in particular,
Yes.
work authorizations. What's been the success of placement into jobs of that group? How many?
So we have, along with the city, gotten over 9,000 temporary protective status applications filled out and the corresponding work authorization applications filled out. Thousands of that group have gotten jobs. I don't have that specific number because we have to call everyone back and say, okay, you submitted it 45 days ago. Did you get the card in the mail, sort of thing? But we have succeeded at getting well over 8,500, almost 9,000 temporary protective status applications filled out for Venezuelans, and then a similar number of work authorizations.
We've heard a lot of anecdotal stories, at least news reports, of certain criminal activity either within the shelters or in the surrounding communities.
Yeah.
And also seems to be an increasing number of complaints regarding panhandling or begging around these same areas. What is the state doing in regards to those issues, and particularly the quality of life around these shelters?
Yeah. So a pretty significant portion of the shelter budget is security. And all of these shelters are required to have security. They all have security on site. I've visited many of them. I've seen that security. And so they all have security on site. There are a couple shelters, and we've spoken to the NYPD about it. We've spoken to the city about it, that have a truly significant number of people. And when you put that many people together, you end up seeing interpersonal conflicts that spill out and spill over. That's some of what's been in the press most recently. In terms of street conditions or panhandling, I would go back to jobs. That what we need is the legal services to get folks work authorization, to get folks working. These are able-bodied people who came here to work and want to work,
Right.
and we've got jobs
It's
available.
still impacting the quality of life in those communities. And with the 45 seconds I have left, what is in the planning stages right now for the migrants that are ultimately denied asylum? What will the role of the state and the activities be in deporting those individuals?
Well, I think, as you know, as I know, the state doesn't take a role in deportation or in immigration law in that way. But
Is the
that
state planning on
said,
cooperating with immigration services?
so these asylum cases will take between 7 and 10 years to adjudicate, and at the end of which most people leave, and they leave on their own. And I think we need congressional action in order to shrink the timeline that it takes to adjudicate these cases. I am hopeful. I hope that the Senate deal and the Biden administration get to that action.